Hey besties, welcome to Stoned and Horny, the podcast all about exploring and expanding your knowledge in sex and cannabis with experts and friends. We're your hosts, Merrrica and Hayley Herms. Joining us today is psychologist and sex therapist, Dr. Chavez. On this episode, we will be talking about sex and periods, women's health, and cannabis sexual wellness products.
Yay! So I guess we're just going to jump into it. Thank you, Dr. Chavez, for being here.
Yay. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited for this. I've been looking forward to it.
You're like, this isn't just like your opinion. This is your field. You dedicated your life to this. I personally know I have so many questions and
it's so
I love
good to
it.
have
I'm
an
here to
expert
answer all the questions. Any sex question, all the juicy questions.
Well,
all the questions.
Before we get to the juicy part, can we just besides my own curiosity, what was the moment that you were like, I'm going to become a sex therapist?
People always want to know. I was young when I first decided that. I remember watching Dr. Ruth on TV and being is that a real thing? And once I knew that was a career, I wanted to do it. And I grew up in a conservative family, so that was the most bizarre thing to say, I want to be a sex therapist. But now my family is totally accepting of it. And they always ask me for vibrator recommendations, lube samples, and call me about all their sex issues.
So now they're just completely open, men and women, or just the women?
All of them. All ages, the whole family. Family gatherings are weird because everyone's like, I need a little bit of this, or what do you recommend for that?
Wow. So, oh my God.
But I love that. I'm helping my family have better orgasms. Who wouldn't want that?
Who doesn't want that?
You're like
orgasms.
The dream daughter, essentially. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have brothers and sisters.
Okay, how many sisters? Are you the oldest?
I'm kind of in the middle. I have two older sisters and three brothers.
Ooh, okay. So middle child, the third sister. So I always feel like, because my mom was a middle child and my dad's a middle child, I feel like the middle child always doing something crazy, right? So of course you had to stand out. But anyways, so
you're saying sex therapy is a little crazy?
Not crazy, but can I just be really honest of just because of Hollywood and movies, I guess I feel like there's going to be needing of some correction, so I'm just going to blurt and we can reduce, I guess.
Sounds good.
When I think sex therapist, is that oh my God, I hope I don't say anything offensive, but you don't join in sex, or do you? Or I don't know, because then from the movies, sometimes they portray a sex, I know Sex in the City, for great example. We all know Sex in the City. And there's this one episode where Charlotte's trying to get into tantric sex, and she sees this, I don't know if you guys know which episode.
Oh, yes, yes.
The old woman comes out with her husband, and to me, I was okay, so is that a form of sex therapy? Because she gives a blowjob and in front of them and a hand job and stuff.
Right.
But I guess my question is what can, not what is sex therapy, but what can it encompass?
Exactly. So sex therapists are not like what we saw in Sex in the City. That was more of what we call a tantric body worker or a sexological body worker. And they do hands-on training coaching. So if you want to learn skills, you want to be a better lover, you go to
a body worker.
I did not even know that was a thing.
Because I hate to say
it's a very big field.
What borders lines a paid prostitute or a body worker? Because I feel like prostitution is a form of sex therapy, though.
Yes,
too.
It is. It's a surrogate form of therapy because people can go and do a lot of healing, believe it or not, with escorts or prostitution.
There we go. Escorts. That's the word I was looking for.
Sex work, I think, is a very valuable thing for sexual healing.
Yes.
But what I do as a therapist, so I'm a licensed mental health professional, and all sex therapists do need to be licensed. Okay. And you can come from all walks of mental health. So you can be a psychologist, social worker, but sex therapy means that you have specialized training in helping people with sexual issues. So sexual issue can be, I don't have any libido, or I'm having too much sex, or I can't find a partner, or I can't have an orgasm. So we become the kind of middle person, helping them overcome barriers, get good resources, making recommendations, and a lot of sex ed. I would say the majority of my work is teaching people how to have good sex. And that's what I love. I mean, I love helping people find pleasure in their life.
So what is your like top tip? Like if I asked you, how do I have better sex?
Well, it's such a big general question, but I would say better sex means more pleasure. I think a lot of people are kind of caught up in the performance of sex.
Yes.
How to make it look good and how to make it, really.
Yes.
Yeah, performing, the mechanics of it. But I think sex is social connection. It's about pleasure, and people need to find their own relationship to pleasure. So if you're not having great sex, it could be either your partner doesn't know how to please you, or you don't know what feels good in your body. So you're waiting for some partner to figure it out, which we have to be responsible for our own pleasure.
Okay. So like is like a majority of the people you see like couples or individuals?
A mix of everything. So individuals, people not in relationships that just want to tune things up. So when they are sexually active, they know what to do. Couples, thruples, polyamorous groups. So there's a little bit of everything.
I love that. Oh my God. Where were you with my last relationship? That's incredible. Oh my God. Okay. So I guess why, in a sense, would how should I say? Why would it be a better choice? Like, why would someone come to you versus a body healer versus an escort? Like, since most of what you do is mental
talk therapy. So we don't do any touching, but we're coaching people, mainly coaching and therapy to help people get over barriers. So let's say you're having a concern in your sex life and you go to regular therapy and your regular therapist doesn't know what to do. They don't have training in sexuality. They'll refer you to me. Okay. And so I come in and create that space and just focus on sex. So we'll look at what's happening with your sex life.
Do you give
Tell
them
me about
like
your history. What's going on?
Homework, or like you're like, go watch this porn or like
lots of homework. I feel like cool. That's exactly. It could be watching porn. It could be masturbation, teaching, reading. It can be a little bit of anything. I always say sex therapy is
vagina diagrams? Like, oh my God. But that's like one of the things I love that you're like here though. And that's one of the great benefits of our podcast is like, this isn't a movie. This is real time. So it's not like, you're going to give us a wink or something or, it's real. So it's like, even though I've heard these things, I love to like hear it from, what do they say? What's it, the horse's mouth itself or something like that? Oh, God, I should know.
I get it. I get what you mean.
You know what I mean? But like, oh my God. So, so you have diagrams, you give homework.
I have actually vulva puppets. Actually, my friend Lindsay, who's here, gave me my first vulva puppet, and it's this beautiful purple velvet, gold satin, beautiful. I should have brought it because you need to see it to understand how it's great. It just helps people.
Is it on your Instagram?
It is, yes.
I think I saw this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Real quick, though, can you tell the people where to get you on Instagram?
Yes. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Dr. Shannon Chavez.
And if you guys want to join the conversation, make sure that you guys are following us on Stoned and Horny podcast. And oh my God, this is amazing. But okay, so you give them homework. You have the vulva puppet. I get, oh, wow. Okay, I have 1,000 questions. My mind's going 1,000 miles per hour.
What is the most common thing that you have to like?
Common sexual issue? Believe it or not, sexual boredom. People are not having a good time in the bedroom.
Why are they so bored?
With sex because they're
like
doing
the same thing over and over.
So why not in a, like, I guess you would know better. Why aren't they saying anything? Is it just like really tough to communicate, or they're just like scared to hurt someone's feelings? Like
all of the above. One, we don't really have the skills. I think it's so vulnerable to talk about what you want, and most people don't know what they want. That's why I said you have to start with knowing your own pleasure. Because if you're not having fun in the bedroom, is it really your partner's responsibility to figure it out? You've got to ask for what you want. You have
and
to
I feel like some
clear.
people might be like embarrassed about what they want.
We were kind of talking about that. There was an episode where we had like a foot fetish expert come on, and she was telling some of our requests that like, because we obviously try judgment-free zone here, but like some, they're just so shocking. And it's like, she's like, a big request she gets is like crushing bugs. And so it's like, I guess I wonder, like, how do you get to that point of knowing what you want, especially if it's something so obscure, like do you then like suggest like, to communicate with this partner, or do you suggest like, break up and like explore your body, or just like self masturbate? Like, what are some tips you would give to the bored people?
Definitely explore. I mean, exploration is the key to good sex. I think if you're not trying new things, then you're going to be in a routine. And like anything, it's going to feel like work.
Okay.
And that's what we don't want. We want to be having fun. And a lot of people aren't having fun with sex because it feels like they don't have enough time, or they're just meeting their partner's needs, or they feel like they have to have an orgasm every time they have sex. So they shut themselves down because maybe they're just not going to get to that point. So we forget about the fun. I mean, sex is about every step of the way. So it's not about the outcome or, what our genitals are doing. It's about, are we feeling good in our bodies? And most people are disconnected from their bodies during sex. They're all in their head. How does my body look? How's my partner feeling? And nobody's embodied. They're not present. So I teach a lot of mindfulness in my work to just get people to focus on their bodies.
Because it's almost like spiritual.
Right, and you're bringing up fetishes. Everyone has a little bit of kink in them. So I think that's not, I usually normalize that because sometimes people think it's weird or bizarre if we, have these fantasies. But I think everyone's got a little bit of
one of my
some
friends,
sort of
kinky stuff in there.
I love that you bring that up. One of my friends, we all took this like BDSM test.
Oh yeah, I know that test. Online.
Okay, we took that.
I've taken it too, to be honest.
Right? There's the long version, the short version, but we took it, and I just like she scored like vanilla, like across the board, and I was like, and mind you, I don't know anyone who dates more than this girl at all. So I was just kind of like, whoa. But then the more like, because it is so important to talk about sex and sexual things with your friends, because that's who else are you going to talk to? And that's again another reason why we created this podcast, because we discovered so many people, even in our age range, whether it's like 20 to 45, are not talking about sex with their friends. And me and Merrrica looked at each other like, all we do is like talk about sex, like, and our friends, and like, because I mean, I know it has a lot to play with like us being in the entertainment world and stuff like that, but at the same time, like I would have friends where we'd be like talk about, and they'd be like, oh, there's no one I can talk about this. I'm like, that girl,
say no more,
girl. So I mean, which brings me to another question of like it. Kind of like what I was saying before, is it more men, women, same thing, like across the board, or like do you see that there's a specific gender that needs more help, or like, I'm so curious.
Good question. I would say different motivations coming to therapy. For example, a lot of male clients are kind of, let's get down to it. Here's the problem. Yeah. What's the solution? How do I fix it? I got a date this weekend.
Really?
That kind of motivation, and I would say, real, commitment to the process.
Okay.
Sometimes female clients, it takes a while for them to give themselves permission to do the work. Well, I don't know if I have time, giving themselves the space to work on their sex life and not feel
there's
obligated.
just so much pressure on women in society, especially the sexual standards we're held up to. So I'm kind of, but also I feel like, just in my opinion, I feel like men have less like emotional capacity to communicate their emotions. And so I think it's really interesting that it's kind of like the opposite. Like these men actually know what the problem might be, and they just want to like, let's get it over with. Right. Like, so is there problems that can just like one session and you're done? Or is it usually something that like just takes like, because I remember the first time, I don't do sexual therapy, but I'm in therapy, and I feel like which ironically people tell me like, you act like a man all the time. And so I showed up to therapy and was like, okay, like I know my traumas, here they are, how are they? Well, and like a year later, we just like got done with like my life history. Whoo! So I'm just like, I can't imagine like, cause they're like, wait, I have a date this week. And so do you ever just like tell them like realistically, like this isn't going to happen in one session, or like, how does that go in sense of timing? Like when these guys or women or whoever gives you these like,
of course, we have to set realistic expectations for the work. But to answer your question, sometimes one session is enough, especially if it helps you get over shame. What I find for a lot of people is they'll come in and say, I've never talked about this before. So just getting it out and having that relief and realizing that they're normal, that there's nothing wrong with them. So many people feel like something's wrong with me. I'm the only one having this issue. So after a session, you can leave feeling validated and normal. And sometimes that's enough to give you a confidence boost or give you enough, self-esteem to be able to go into a sexual situation differently.
So true.
But for some people, I would say it kind of goes like this. Most people need just recommendations, resources, and good suggestions around sex, and a small population needs more intensive therapy, especially if there's been trauma or a lot of shame, or you've come from a culture or background where sex was just repressed and you just don't have any sense of what is okay for me. So it's developing values around sex, learning boundaries, learning
Is there ever like the opposite though, where it's like because of that oppression, they're so extremely sexual, you're almost like helping them tone it down?
It can be. I mean, there's something called out of control sexual behavior. And for a lot of people, their common experience is early trauma. So early trauma can be repressed environment or all sorts of situations that lead to just a confusing script or schema around sex. So there's just a lot of, and out of control sexual behavior means that you're using sex for something other than pleasure. So it's a way to feel, to get approval from others, to feel, to meet someone else's needs. So there's a lot of complicated attachment issues in someone that may have more out of control behavior.
And like, what would kind of be like less intensive then? Or like, what would you do with the more intense people sorry, I don't know how you worded that, the less intense people? Like what's kind of the difference? Like, is there something more like you do or something? I don't know.
I think the goal is always to help reduce distress, because whether you're having too much or not enough sex, there's distress. That's why you're coming to therapy, right? I need support. I need to understand whether or not I'm on the right track or I'm doing what's right for me. So a lot of the times it's figuring that out and helping them navigate through that.
With that saying, do you think it's important to have sex regularly? Like, what's your advice to the people in dry spells? Not that I'm speaking from personal experience.
I mean, let's face it, we all go through dry spells, even sex therapists. I mean, I talk about that a lot myself because there's a standard that we should just all be having great sex all the time. And that's not realistic.
I'm one of those women that you're talking. I'm so busy and the trust issues are on like level 9,000, but I'm also stoned and horny. Yeah. And like, what the fuck am I like? I'm going to masturbate myself to death. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
So how often do you recommend sex, or like what?
Would you encourage people, I guess you said, to have sex regularly if they can, or like
Yeah, good question. Everyone wants to know, what is the number? How often? Am I having too much, not enough? There is no norm. I think it's mainly about pleasure. So if you're not having any pleasure in your life, so let's say
it's worse, it's more harmful.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you're spending time with friends, you're doing things that you're passionate about, and you're enjoying physical pleasure, that's great. And sex doesn't have to be intercourse. It can be having a great makeout session. It can be dry humping. It could be, just staring at each other and eye gazing. I mean, there's so many ways to have sex. I think that's why people are bored, because they don't want to do
have
it
the
the
romance.
way
More
that
intimate. It's
Intimacy,
intimate. I feel like that's intimate.
it's not creative. I mean, it's all about the mechanics, right? And that's where we just kind of lose interest. We need to be creative. And I don't mean role play or dirty talk, but creative can be, bringing some toys into the bedroom.
Do you ever recommend cannabis to people?
Absolutely. Cannabis has been a huge help for so many clients. A couple of ways. I mean, obviously for people that have pain, I talk a lot about cannabis. I actually have endometriosis,
That's what I was about to say. One of our friends has that, and she
So can you explain to people who don't know, what is it?
Yes. So endometriosis is an inflammatory disease that women get, and it affects the entire reproductive system. It can also affect other organs like your digestive tract, but what it causes is extremely painful periods, infertility issues, and a lot of sexual pain and discomfort because there's a lot of inflammation in your body. So what's the issue with women with endo is they usually recommend very severe painkillers, daily painkillers, because your pain levels are so intense lubricants, even outside of menstruation. So cannabis has really saved the endometriosis community. And there's been so much good research on it, and I'm a huge support of that. I don't know if you know the company Euphoria, but they've made some excellent products, and I've
tried their
love their
products.
And I think cannabis, even outside of pain, is helpful for getting out of your head and getting into your body. I mentioned embodiment. It helps people just relax and get into their sensuality, which is why it's
Is there any strains you specifically recommend, like indica or sativa hybrid, or like?
Not really. I really don't believe that in the whole indica sativa, because everything affects everyone's body differently. So what I usually recommend for someone who's a new cannabis user is to experiment with different products.
Okay.
Try both. See what you like better and make a log. Actually, one of my good friends is Ashley Manta, the Canisexual. I don't know if you know her, but Canisexual on Instagram. She's actually one who recommends people keep a log and get data. You know, how did I like this? What did I feel? What did I notice? And start finding products that work for you.
Do you have like, because we asked our listeners and we said, do you use cannabis sexual products? And majority of them were like, wait, that exists? Right. So is there like a top 5, like a few brands or specific products you could recommend for our lovely listeners?
You know, there's so many good lubricants and products. It really depends on what. So if we're looking for something to heighten your sensitivity, which is what a lot of people need, especially if they're not having good arousal and orgasm. So Euphoria is a brand that has everything from arousal gels. They have a pleasure product. They have massage gels. They have suppositories that you can
infuse with THC.
Yes, THC infused products, and they're a really great brand. There's another brand out of Australia, a women-owned company called Quim, and they also make CBD and THC products that help women. So there's a lot of really great brands coming out there. I wouldn't say I have too many particulars, but I recommend people just go and try things out.
Stopping by the dispensary and seeing what they have available.
See what they have available. Talk to.
I don't think I've ever seen sexual wellness products though at a dispensary.
They do have them. I actually have worked at a dispensary before. They have like little bottles of
we
lube.
never carried them at any of the dispensaries that I was a part of.
It really depends on
I don't
where you
think
go.
it was a thing though. That was, you know, if you're an OG of the show, you know I was like trapping. You know what I mean? She's from like Washington, Seattle, and it's more like medically. I found out from Merrrica that it's been so much more legal there and so much more things going on around it than California, which I was like shocked to hear that. And
I feel like cannabis is huge in the California culture.
It's huge out here, but the way that you guys have like, I feel like tested, it's more serious. The restrictions, the rules, like you guys have
more by the book.
There we go.
It's definitely I'm from Colorado, so all these states were kind of at the forefront of really pushing medical marijuana use and cannabis friendly. But you're right, every state has its own rules, regulations, and
different products,
different approach to it. So
something we talked again, another question we asked our listeners, and like kind of like, who else better to talk to about a doctor? Sex and periods.
Yes.
Are you a fan? Because it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm one of those weird people that can get kind of like weirded out depending. I don't know.
So you pass.
Okay. When I've had periods, I'll do it if it's like with like someone who's like has like said it's okay. I would never just like surprise someone.
Oh yeah.
But like it was mostly like.
Can you imagine?
Surprise. Literally.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, my new sheets. Yeah.
Oh
definitely.
yeah. No, right. Especially, and I found like a lot of men have white sheets from. What? Okay, but
that should be a whole nother episode.
You gotta get the towel.
I won't even do that. For me, maybe it's because if you know me, I take like 2 or 3 showers a day. I'm like very obsessively cleanly, so I would make my ex do it in the shower all the time. So I'll do it, but only in the shower. But also, there's like water and the thing.
It's like cleaning you at the same time.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot going on there. But like I was just personally shocked at everyone. Like all the viewers were like, "Yeah, we're doing it. Like it's happening. I don't care. Like down and dirty. Didn't give a fuck about no like they were just here for it." And I was like, I am a square. So
I'll do it on my period.
yeah, like I feel like
feels good. There's a lot of health benefits of
There-
having
okay,
sex.
what
on your
are
Does the
period.
vagina like change during your period? Like, does it feel different, like medically?
Your hormones
or-
are different during your period, so there can be points within your cycle that it feels really good. You might have a heightened sense of arousal because of that sensitivity from hormones. So it can feel really great. It also, if you have really bad menstrual cramps, it can relieve menstrual cramps by
Really?
relaxing your pelvic floor. So there's a lot of benefits. Also, it's primal. I mean, our periods are primal, so we don't want to, I think it gets you used to fluids. I mean, sex is messy, and why
Yeah.
are we afraid of period blood?
No,
I think that our
literally.
society is afraid of period blood, and we don't talk about periods in a positive way. And a lot of women enjoy sex on their period, but feel so much shame around it.
yeah.
But it's normal. I mean, it's just period blood, and you can get a lot of great products. There's sex blankets out there that are absorbent.
sex blankets.
I did
Girl.
not even know that was a thing.
Dr. Chavez, we love you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
sex
to go
blanket.
look
What
this up.
else?
I'm
After
really big
this.
into sex accessories. So
Okay.
these beautiful blankets by a company called Liberator. Shout out to Liberator. I love you. They make these beautiful velvet blankets, and they're absorbent. They absorb all fluid. You throw it down on the bed. You have your enjoyment, and then you just fold it up and wash it. No big deal.
Oh my God.
A little
we
better
love
than
That
a towel.
is- yeah.
Or a rubber sheet or whatever else you might have out there.
Oh my God. So is there any more benefits? So it reduces cramps. You can, it just
Feels
like,
Improves your
good.
mood too. I mean, we
Improves
all
your
get
mood.
PMS, I assume, and it really helps regulate mood. It even boosts your self-esteem because it releases endorphins and neurotransmitters in your
Wow.
brain that actually makes you feel good. So if you're a little grumpy and irritable, nothing an orgasm can't fix.
do you have like, and you can tell me if this is too personal, but like, do you have like a sex cabinet at home? Like a
Several.
yes!
Actually, a sex den. I just built one in our house. We had this extra room, our guest room, and I told my husband, I want a sex den, like a room where
Oh
you
my
can go
God.
in and there's, books and art and what else do I have in there? I have these salt lamps. It's just a really nice mood.
Like a nice sexy room.
And I have a
Your
sex
husband
chair.
must be the luckiest person ever. I was going to ask you, I was going to say, are you married or not? Clearly someone like you should not be single. Like, wow. Oh my God.
He's very tolerant because it's not easy being married to a sex therapist.
That
my
was
job
my next
is,
question.
I deal with all aspects of sex. Sometimes not the glamorous parts of sex. So there's just a full spectrum of events and things and
When you guys
boxes
met-
of toys that come to the house that we have to sample.
How does he feel about the toys?
He draws the line. He's like, look, I'm not volunteering my penis for anything.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the butt, but like he won't
Oh,
even
there
try
you
it on
go.
the penis?
It depends on what it is. But
Okay.
I try to separate, we never assume.
But he's not opposed to using toys.
No, not at all.
One time I tried to bring a vibrator in the bedroom.
Did he get offended?
so offended? So this is like a while back like from my teen days going into my early 20s, but like I was just like, I'm not coming ever, and I was just I was bored. Yes, Dr. Chavez. Oh my God, I needed you and I didn't even know.
You know what? People need to get over that. What's the threat of a vibrator? All you need to do is use it on their testicles or on their body, inner thighs, and they'll say,
Right.
"Oh, okay, I changed my mind." That.
But
feels
he
really
liked to
good.
get his ass eaten. Just want to throw that out there. No vibrators, but let's eat the ass.
What's that all about? Double standards.
Literally. Okay, so you are a fan of the period sex. There's so many benefits from it.
So many benefits.
The cannabis products, we like laying it down. Whew. Okay. So then, sorry, a couple more questions about the period sex, and
Yes,
we'll just like
yes.
move on. So
No, these are important. I love this.
I gotta
'cause
become
people-
like
people need
a
to know.
square into a circle. So would you say, because you have endo,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess is period sex then beneficial for you in any way? Because does it hurt, or like, because our one friend said for her, not only does it hurt, but when she has the actual orgasm, it's like painful. Like she would rather not have an orgasm.
Right. They can be very painful, and it kind of depends on where your endo is and what level your endo is. We can have different stages, stage 1 being mild to stage 4 being severe.
And it can never go away?
It never goes away. I mean, you can do things to reduce it, lifestyle changes, surgery, but it doesn't go away. And also something for people to know, when you have chronic pain, it affects your nervous system. Okay. So even if you don't feel pain consistently, your nervous system is kind of prepared for pain. So that can make sex uncomfortable because you might have comfortable or difficulty relaxing and really letting go. So an orgasm, if we think about what it really is, it's a reflex. It's when we let go and allow that energy to rush through our body. So someone that's used to pain and tense all the time, it may feel, again, painful or uncomfortable letting go.
You're just connecting so many dots for me. Right. I don't know about you here, but I'm like blown. But like, and not literally, but like, okay, wow. So did you meet your husband before or after you were a sex therapist?
Before, actually, when I was going through my schooling and training, and so he's been there through the whole journey.
Okay, so he knew what he was signing up for.
Knew what he was getting into. Yes,
I love that. A sex positive man. Where'd you guys meet?
I actually used to work with him at a company before I was a therapist. So I worked at his company and we met and just we've known
what
each other
about
for
his
so long.
friends? Like, are they cool with it? Like, do they ask you for advice and like?
Not really. No one really. I mean, there's people that are curious about it. I would say strangers ask more about advice than anyone. I mean, if you're on an airplane, do not say you're a sex therapist because whoever's sitting next to you, the floodgates open and you're just giving a lot of.
And sometimes you just gotta like shut it off because I imagine. So when you go to these family parties and they're all coming up to you, it's because especially the holidays are coming up. Do you ever just be like, oh, I'm all sexed out, like we can't?
I do. I'll actually say that. I'm like, not today.
Not today.
Too sexed out.
Okay.
Hold the questions during Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh my God, especially during dinner. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh
we're a Latino family, so everyone's open and loud and nobody holds back, unfortunately.
Okay. I would prefer that. That's fun. You know what I mean? Okay. So then before, we're wrapping up and stuff like that, I guess. Do you have any questions before? Because I kind of want you to.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what is the top sex position you recommend people?
You're going to be surprised by this. Are you ready?
Is it missionary?
It's missionary. I love
Is it because it's
missionary.
intimate? You're like eye looking and like.
It's the best of all worlds. You got the eye contact. You can grab your partner's body from all different angles. You can actually vary missionary more than any other position. For example, you can put a pillow under your butt, a little bit of an angle, and now you have the coital alignment technique, which is a type of missionary that gives you more friction to your clitoris. So missionary's got a lot of options. I think it gets a bad rap, and people need to explore a little bit more. Yes.
Okay. What's the second one then?
A missionary variations. You can wrap your legs around.
No, I meant sorry.
Okay. I'm like going into detail.
Okay, I hate that. Well, I mean, tell the people because we all need to be having better sex, but pleasure. I learned so much today.
Visit my website. I have a variation of missionary positions on my blog that I'm happy to share with everyone. Out.
Yes, you guys go to the blog for that. But I would say, what's a quick top 5, because you said boredom's the number one problem. Yes. So if you're just, you're on the spot right now, like quite literally, what are the short top 5 things people can either do to improve their sex lives, whether they're by themselves or with others, or top 5 sex tips, general. Go for it, whatever.
Masturbate more. Masturbation is key to sexual wellness. So if you don't know how to pleasure yourself, a partner is not going to know what to do.
Bam.
And spend time. It's self-care. It feels good. So don't just, quickly get off. Spend some time. Put some music on. Light some candles. Honor your body. Don't just quickly get it done and move on. I mean, masturbation is kind of a meditation.
Girl, all tonight, I just found out I'm doing everything wrong. I'm we were talking on this one episode, I have this skill, a special talent, where I can come I can make myself come 8 times in 15 minutes. Yeah. So I'm very much of getting it done and over with type of bitch.
With just your hands?
Yeah. I don't like insertion, like when it comes to sex toys, like maybe on the clit, like one of those little vibe, I don't like things inside of me for some reason.
That's common.
I haven't
That's very
explored
common.
that though, but but like just with my hands. And so like, what is the cons to me just like rubbing it out and getting on with my life?
Well, I think it takes a woman's body a minimum of 20 minutes to get fully aroused.
So
even though you're easy to arouse and you can orgasm quickly, that's great. I mean, many women can, but when you take your time, slow and steady is the way to masturbate.
Okay.
Because you're going to expand
You don't think it's
your
gonna,
orgasm potential. You're going to experience different types of orgasm. Women can experience 10 types of orgasm.
Huh?
That's
so
crazy.
what you're describing is probably clitoral orgasms, right? You
Okay.
stimulate your clitoris and you orgasm. That's probably the easiest type for many women. But there are internal orgasms, not vaginal orgasms.
I
we
feel
can
like
have.
no one has internal orgasms. What's that about? How do we?
Well, an internal orgasm is really an internal clitoral orgasm because the clitoris. This is actually what it looks like. This is
She
a clitoris.
has a clit necklace, everyone.
I wear this to show people because I want people to understand their bodies. So a clitoris has a shaft, it has legs, and it has little wings, and some of that anatomy goes internal and some of it's external. So why we have an internal orgasm is when you stimulate internally, you're really stimulating that internal body of the clitoris.
Okay.
So that in combination with external stimulation can give you an even bigger or better orgasm.
And is it true that when a woman squirts, it's not an orgasm, it's just squirting?
Squirting is actually referred to as female ejaculation, and it's the result of good pleasuring.
We have a beautiful dog on set. We have a couple doggies on set.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The dog.
Sorry
Don't
about
worry.
that.
No, it's okay. They know we have Bambi here. The people know. We're dog friendly.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
So, the clitoral orgasm, basically, stimulating the body externally and internally. You mentioned not a lot of people have internal orgasms. Well, some people can have internal orgasms, especially the cervix. You can stimulate the cervix. We have something called an A spot, which is a little bit deeper into the vaginal canal on the top anterior wall. There's these little bundles of nerves that when you stimulate those areas, that's why deeper penetration for some people can feel really good.
I'm learning so
I
much.
have so many oh my God.
And women can think themselves off. This is my favorite kind of orgasm. We can actually think about things that stimulate us and evoke an orgasm.
Wait, so what are the other
physical
3
touch.
orgasms or 7 orgasms? So you got your mind, and then the what? Oh my
So
God!
we have the thinkgasm. We have something called a coregasm. Some people can have
Coregasm.
intense exercise and core stimulation and actually trigger an orgasm because of how the core muscles are connected to the pelvic floor.
But you have the orgasm in your vag, right?
Throughout your pelvic area. So again, orgasms are
That might have happened to me when I'm
reflexes.
running. Sometimes I run. And it's
Yeah,
just
and
like
you kind of a
everything's
little bit of
working.
rubbing on your clitoris. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh.
Oh my
Exactly.
God! So that wouldn't be a core. That would still be a clit.
Well, they call it the core because it's evoked by kind of intense exercise through core stimulation.
Okay, so then the core, and then what? Sorry, because I know we got to wrap up in a couple minutes, and then the 10. The 10. There's 10, you guys. Okay, core. Other thing, blah, 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 other 6. Okay.
So we have the G-spot orgasm, clitoral orgasm. We have the A-gasm, which is that deeper point within our cervical orgasm. Then we have what we call multisensory orgasm, which is stimulating different parts of our body at the same time, which creates simultaneous orgasm through stimulation of those parts. And then we have nipple-gasms. You can stimulate the nipples, and you can have orgasm through nipple stimulation.
Wow. So that's 10. How many
There's a
different
lot
orgasms do men have?
Oh, that's just
Just
for women?
one?
Or can that...
Men are kind of a one-track.
What about their ass? Wait, I thought they had...
Yes.
I thought they had
Oh my
something
gosh,
in their
you're
ass.
right. Yes. There's
Wait,
something
because
called
I was just
T-
talking about this. The
Yes.
other guy...
Sorry, guys. Yes, there are two
Two.
orgasms for male bodies.
And
Yes.
so, but like, okay, fuck. This guy told me, he's like, I'm scared to... He's like, my girlfriend wants to peg me, but I'm scared to let her peg me because he's addicted. He thinks he'll get addicted to having things put in his ass. Is that true?
I think that's a fear. I think there's a lot of stigma and fear for men about any pleasure of the prostate. So this is called a pegasm or prostate stimulation, which can evoke an orgasm for males. It can also strengthen an erection. So if you're a penis owner and you're kind of losing your erection, you can just stimulate right
Stick a
through.
finger up the ass.
Yeah. There you go. A little come hither, and there you go.
Well,
I'm literally learning so much.
On the finger on the ass note.
What a great way to end this podcast.
I guess that is how we're just gonna freaking knock it out. Let me pull up the outro here while I'm just blown away. But before we do the outro, can just remind everyone where can they. We need to know every single place we can find you and your work.
So you can visit my website, drshannonchavez.com. I have a ton of articles and podcasts and things where I just talk about all things sex.
Yes.
And also social media. I always post some really fun sex positive things, and that's at Dr. Shannon Chavez.
Yes. Okay, and really quick, can you show the camera your shirt?
Yeah, so this is Solid Gold Clit. This is the work of Sophia Wallace. She's an amazing sex positive artist in New York. She also designed this beautiful gold clitoris. So I wear it just to teach people about their bodies. Again, when you see Solid Gold Clit, you go, what is that? Guess what? We all have one.
Yes! You are an icon. She's a Scorpio, by the way, a Scorpio icon. Okay, you guys, that concludes today's episode of Stoned and Horny. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you want a chance to join the conversation, follow us on Instagram at Stoned and Horny and leave a comment. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials so to stay updated on everything Stoned and Horny. You know, we got the YouTube, Instagram, everything. And thank you, Dr. Chavez, for coming here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This
literally
was so much fun.
everything. I thought I was a sexpert. I will be doing my research after this. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm Hayley.
I'm Merrrica, and we'll see you at the next one.